Hi, welcome to the Nuance Needed podcast. This is Sam, and I am doing the intro for a special little episode that we're doing today. So, Amanda and I have a Substack, and it is very cleverly called the Nuance Needed Substack. That is where Amanda and I are both doing some more long form content that fits with our mission at Nuance Needed, which is to talk about all things mental health differently, more in depth, with a more nuanced and perspective based attitude. And one of the things that I am also doing over on the Substack is I am doing Sam's History Corner. So this is something that, if you follow me on Instagram, has been something in high demand. And I decided to put it on Substack because Instagram is just a disaster right now for creators, and the algorithm is just really tough. And so if I'm going to be making these videos that are longer, they're about 10 to 15 minutes, I want to make sure that the people who want to see them are seeing them. So that is why it is on the Substack. However, I think a lot of people, well, not I think, I know, a lot of people have been asking me what they're like, what to expect. And I chatted with Amanda and we decided that we would just throw up a sample one of these. So today you are going to be hearing a sample of Sam's History Corner. And I really hope you love it. And I will be doing at least one of these per month, which I'm very excited about. I'm hoping eventually, as we get things up and running, maybe I could do more. We'll see. But at least once a month, in addition to 2 pep talks from me, weekly recaps, not only on the podcast, but also we do guides, we do prompts, we do like extended deep dives into each of the podcast episodes that we do. And also we have bonus episodes between both Amanda and I. There's conversation, community building. We've had like the most incredible chats with followers like in the comments. And it's something that I've really, really enjoyed. And so if you would love to sign up, feel free to go to Substack, look for Nuance Needed. And here is a preview of Sam's History Corner. Welcome to the very first episode of Sam's History Corner. I am a history nerd. I'm a history buff. I love history. I love all things history. And in the era that we're in, it kind of sucks to have as an interest, to be one who typically enjoys politics and history and all those sorts of things. And so I have decided to channel my interest in those things into something positive. So on my socials, i.e. my Instagram and my TikTok, something that I have done here and there is I have spoken about things related to history and or politics and or social justice issues and how those relate back to mental health, how we live our lives, and how to find hope and all those sorts of things. So I decided on the Substack, I wanted to do this series more consistently and talk about different topics and people and things and how they relate specifically to mental health, how we can find inspiration from those things, how those things matter to us, and just cool, fun tidbits and stories. So for the first one, I thought long and hard about what I wanted to do and what I wanted to talk about first. And so as you can see here, just in the corner, I have a bookshelf in here. I have like bookshelves all over the rest of my home. However, in here, in my office, I try to keep the books and the stories and the people that inspire me the most, that I can turn and look to and feel motivated by as I take the career journey that I'm taking in having a more public-facing role, being more of a thought leader, sharing my thoughts more and how to take that responsibility seriously. So, the first one that I have chosen, the GOAT, Eleanor Roosevelt. This is an incredible biography by David Michaelis? I don't know. Michaels. We'll just go with that. It's a couple years old, so it's actually fairly recent in the world of biographies. Obviously, she's a complex character, and there's much to learn and much to know and a million different stories and anecdotes. However, I decided that what I wanted to highlight when talking about her was paint a little bit of the story of her childhood, a little bit of what she went through in her marriage to good old FDR, and how that shaped the way she ended up leaning into the world and what she chose to do with it. Miss Eleanor was born in 1884. And yes, I do know this off the top of my head. Withhold your judgment. She was born in 1884 to the brother of Teddy Roosevelt. So Teddy Roosevelt was her uncle. Her father's name was Elliot. And Elliot was a really cool guy. And he was also a raging alcoholic. Raging alcoholic. Really bad. Multiple stints in what back then they called sanatoriums, what we would today probably label as rehab and or detox. Didn't work. One, because probably there's no treatment. They had no idea how to treat addiction or what that looked like or what. No, they kind of just like threw you in a padded cell and left you alone and called it good. So she was incredibly close to her father. And because he was an addict, he did what addicts do. And he often gave her grandiose promises of the future, what their life would be together, you know, kind of painting this like fantasy picture for her of what the future would look like. And what was incredibly tragic was he died when she was 9. And he literally fell out of a window. It's giving Liam Payne. R.I.P. He fell out of a window because he was so drunk. And he was attempting to withdraw from the alcohol because he was at one of those sanatoriums. And he fell out of the window because he had what are called delirium tremens. And that's when you literally develop psychosis while withdrawing. So horribly, horribly tragic. She loses her father. Teddy Roosevelt lost a brother. Her mother obviously lost a husband. Now, why this is particularly devastating for Eleanor was because her mom did not like her. Her mom was incredibly beautiful, and her mom was incredibly disappointed in Eleanor because she didn't think Eleanor was attractive. Her daughter. She literally would call her daughter Granny because she thought she looked old and ugly. Ma'am, please be so for real. Brutal, just horrible, horrible emotional abuse. And Eleanor said multiple times through her life that she attempted to please her mother and it felt impossible. And when her dad died, she felt like she had lost the only person who had ever loved her, which is devastating. So just a couple of years later, her mom dies as well. And Eleanor and her little brother are left orphans. And so they are shipped off to her grandmother's house in northern New York. And this is a lonely, isolated place. There are no children around. They are homeschooled. She is often sent outside to play by herself. She describes these years as brutally, brutally lonely. And keep in mind, she's grieving her parents. Okay, both of her parents are dead. She has horrible emotional trauma, emotional abuse and neglect from the way her mother treated her. You know, really emotional neglect from her father, who boldface lied to her a lot about how he was living his life and what his plans were, and that he knew he was probably going to have an early death because he was drinking like a damn fish. Regardless, bad years. So in her early to mid-teens, it is decided that she is going to be sent to a French finishing school. And she is sent to a school in Paris, France, that is ran by a woman named Madame Silvestre. Now, this woman ends up in a lot of ways saving Eleanor's life. It is an all-girls school, and she very much instills in the girls, because, I mean, private school back then, you were way privileged. Big time money, like generational wealth privilege. And so Madame Silvestre instilled in these girls that it was their responsibility to show up for people. It was their responsibility to care for the poor, care for society, fight for better access, equality, all of the sorts of things. A queen, if you will. And so Eleanor gets this radical education and she feels so much acceptance at this school. And it's the first time in her life that she feels like she belongs. So she ends up going home and she gets married to Franklin. She has a bunch of kids. And by the time she's in her early 30s, Franklin has an affair. He has an affair. And how she finds out about the affair, this is particularly devastating. He had gone off to the front lines in World War I to play war because he wasn't really a part of anything and he just wanted to see it. And he was super rich and entitled and just wanted to go like play pretend. So when he was coming home, she was helping him unpack his suitcase and she found a stack of letters wrapped in a ribbon that were written from their nanny, the woman that had been their nanny, and Eleanor's social secretary. Okay. That was who he was having an affair with, a long-standing affair. So Eleanor puts her foot down and says, I'm done. I am done being told that I'm ugly, I'm not enough, I don't matter. And she essentially says to Franklin, give me the divorce. I want the divorce. I'm done. I don't care what this does to me socially. Let me out. So Franklin's mom, Franklin was a little bit of a mama's boy, a lot of mama's boy. His mom says to him, if you ever want a career in politics, you cannot get a divorce. Can you imagine? Can you imagine if that was the most controversial thing in politics today? That someone had a divorce, please. Anyway, Franklin goes to Eleanor and says, if you want the divorce, I'll give you the divorce. And they have a conversation, probably numerous conversations, if we're being honest. And they essentially decide to form a partnership. And she sees his desire to work his way up in politics as an opportunity for her to have this larger social role and give back, to have the chance to do something good for society and change society. So in like the most condensed version of the story, shortly after that, he contracts polio, gets super sick, kind of goes off, figures out how to get better, never fully recovers. He's in a wheelchair for the rest of his life. He runs for the governor of New York, wins. After he runs for governor of New York, he wins president of the United States, and he is president for 13 years. He's elected in 1932, inaugurated in 1933, and he dies in 1945. And he was president the whole time. Which, fun fact, his presidency is the reason that we have a constitutional amendment that says you can only serve 2 terms. That's in the Constitution, and that can't be changed. And no, the current sitting president does not have the numbers required to change that. So just remember that. Rewind. So the reason I bring up all of this about Eleanor is she was a woman who multiple times in her life would speak about how insecure she was, how insecure she felt about who she was. She hated herself for most of her life. She hated how tall she was. She hated the shape of her face. She hated her voice. She hated the way she looked in general. She felt that she called too much attention to herself, but she wasn't beautiful enough to call attention to herself. And even with all of that insecurity and all of that self-doubt, she decided to channel all of that into action. And she knew what it meant to not have what one needed. She knew what it meant to feel lonely. She knew what it meant to feel forgotten. She knew what it meant to feel like you had lost everything. And she decided to make her whole life's purpose about caring for others and showing up for others. And even though she knew she couldn't change everything, she couldn't fix everything, she knew that she could do something. And she showed up and she fought. And during Franklin's presidency, especially during the Great Depression and even during the war, she was the one who was going out all across the country and meeting people and talking with them and listening to their struggles. And she would go back to him, and New Deal policies were crafted based on the feedback that she was giving to Franklin. This woman was an icon, a legend, a social justice warrior. And I look up to her so much. And the reason I'm talking about her now in this fun little Sam's History Corner is because I think the way she lived her life is a way that so many of us can learn from and model today. We can't do everything and we can't fix everything. We're not meant to do that. we're meant to do what we can, where we can, with what we have. And whatever that is, if you're looking around at your immediate family and your immediate family needs some tending, right? Maybe your kids need some extra love and care. Maybe your spouse or your partner needs more time. Maybe there's things that you need to work on in your relationship that would help you guys feel more strong and more ready to take on the world, right? Starts at home. And if you're wanting to go outside of that, what do your friends need? What does your community need? What does your neighborhood need? What does your city need? Your town, your state? What can you do to make the world what you wish it was? How can you contribute to the things that you see are wrong and help be a part of the solution? To yell online about the problems and get in the comments and scream at people doesn't help anybody. Eleanor took action. Even when she was scared, even when she was overwhelmed, even when she was insecure, she took action. And that is what I want you to take from this. I know you're feeling overwhelmed with everything going on, and I know that it feels like so much. And I know that you have your own insecurities and doubts that feel like they're holding you back. And I want you to know you don't have to listen to those voices. You can listen to the voice that is telling you to do something. Pay attention to the issue that you feel the most passionate about and offer your services there. You can start as small as making it about you and your family, or you can take it as big as you want. But I want you to know that by you taking action, by you choosing to engage in things that help move the world towards a better place, you are being part of the solution. And you get to say that you had a hand in making the world a better place. So that is what I leave you with today. Thank you for listening to this first Sam's History Corner. I hope you loved it. I loved doing it. And there will be many more of these. So I will see you in the next one.